Hello again, YouTube family. Thanks for joining me on this video. And this is dealing again with the border, as Tomi Lahren from the Fox News channel went down to the border in an attempt to troll the vice president.
Stories. What'd you hear from these ranchers down there?
I spoke to one rancher and people that live in border towns, especially ranchers in border towns, they're used to having illegal immigrants and migrants come across their property. But what they're seeing right now is unprecedented because those that are coming across, they're coming across brazenly. They're coming across feeling as though they've been invited. Some of the things that they're finding and some of the people that they're coming in contact with, these are people that are unapologetic about why they're coming over. They feel it's their right to come over. They feel that they've been invited, and it's not going to stop anytime soon. You couple the halt and border wall construction with the messaging coming from the Biden administration, the gaps, the 5-mile gaps that this one rancher in particular is having to deal with, and you add in all those other policies like taking away Remain in Mexico, and you've got the perfect storm for a whole lot of problems down at the border.
And that's Tomi Lahren discussing her trip to the border, and so she says she spoke to one rancher because if one rancher sees something a certain way, that must be the same way across every rancher. She was saying that the border crossings were unprecedented, which is not true. We've had much more issues with people crossing the border in previous years, particularly I think the year 2000. She was saying that people are brazen, feeling like they've been invited. They're unapologetic. Like they should be, for some reason, apologetic. Sorry for crossing your border, but we're looking for a better life. Halt in the border wall construction and taking away the Remain in Mexico policy is what she's blaming this stuff on. And the thing is, the halt in the border wall has nothing to do with the immigration stuff right now. Tomi Lahren is one of these new age Republican, younger Republican people. She's found that she can gain a certain amount of prominence and income from going on television and saying outrageous things. I mean, she constantly gets owned. She's constantly on Twitter and Instagram, whatever social media, and is making outrageous claims, getting owned left and right. It wasn't that long ago she was getting owned by an 11-year-old girl on Twitter for making a stupid comment on Twitter, which her comment was that $5 billion spent on a border wall is the best $5 billion America's ever spent, which is itself an absurd assertion. In this, she's going to the border to troll the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, because a lot of people are bringing up that Biden nor Kamala Harris have visited the border. Biden's apparently put Kamala Harris in charge of figuring out the border problem. And people are making a big deal that she's not visited the border. Like, for some reason, you have to go to the border to know what's going on. As long as you trust the people in your administration, you have people in your administration who are constantly in communication with the folks at the border because they work for the federal government. Both the CBP, ICE, both agencies. You have CBP, ICE, you have DHS, all dealing with the border stuff. And the vice president and the president receive daily briefings on what's going on. Like somehow you're going to suddenly realize what's going on just because you made a trip there. What Tomi Lahren doesn't understand, apparently, is what anecdotal evidence is, which is I go to the border, I talk to a couple of people, and this gives me my view of what the entire border, all southern states, everybody who lives in them are dealing with. They're all these couple of people I talk to. They represent everybody in a border state. They represent everybody along the border, which isn't true. And like the farmer she spoke to, I think, owns a lot of land, thousands of acres of land. Most likely is a rather high-earning rancher. You know, you have a lot of ranchers who just do it as a way of life. They don't make a lot of money, but they enjoy what they do. And for her, she had shown like a pair of shoes. It looked like a pair of house shoes. The guy was saying, these are carpet, whatever he called them, something to hide your footprints in the desert. And maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Maybe it's a cheap pair of house shoes from Mexico. I mean, that's what it looked like to me. And so there was this really old, dirty pair of these shoes he was showing. He was like, this is migrants. These are the border crossers. And maybe those shoes he was showing her was recent. Maybe those shoes had been there for 2 years. There's no context to what she's doing. She's just going, having some guy make assertions about the border, about his property there at the border. And maybe it's true. Maybe it's not true. But there's no context. And then you have her going to the border being backed up by this insane claim that stopping the border wall is causing all these people to try and come across the border. No, that's not at all. Life isn't getting any better for those people. You know, she had mentioned the stay in Mexico policy, which Biden supposedly did away with, although most people are remaining in Mexico. He's required by a judicial decision to let unaccompanied minors across. You have the issue of parents sending their kids unaccompanied to the border in hopes of getting them into America and in hopes of getting them to a better life. And but no, the border wall would not have solved any problems. The border wall is a joke. The border wall is a ridiculous waste of money, a ridiculous waste of time, a ridiculous waste of resources. As I've said before, most of the people who are illegal in this country are visa overstays. They flew in. A wall doesn't stop them from flying in. And as far as the situation on the border, what we can try and do is help send money to these countries these people are coming from. Not send money to the leaders of the country, but send money to actually people on the ground who are helping people get stuff they need. Food, water, necessities, medical stuff. I mean, there's a lot of things we can do to mitigate people coming to our southern border. The border wall doesn't solve anything at all. The stay in Mexico policy is a ridiculous policy. It was put in by Trump, and like most things Trump decided to do, is ridiculous. Just like the border wall. And Tomi Lahren is she is a right-wing person who became prominent by making ridiculous statements. Then she became prominent for being a die-hard Trump supporter. And so she's clinging to that. As far as I know, she's not gotten any more hosting gigs on TV shows. She's, I guess, stuck doing these trips to the border to report for Fox News, which probably still pays well. She's still probably staying in nice hotels and living a much better life than if she worked for a living. But, no. There's no emergency at the border. There are some years we have more, there are some years we have less people trying to come into the country. But due to a very long-standing line of U.S. policy, including our meddling, trying to get rid of people who are leaders in Central and South American countries, our Trump's decision to cut U.S. aid, all these things led to a wave of people trying to get into this country. Trump did the stay in Mexico policy, so we had this massive amount of people there at the border on this Mexican side trying to get across. You have the issue of coyotes and people like that lying to these migrants, telling them that the Biden administration is going to allow them in, causing people to come to the border. And it isn't true. This is one of those issues of Fox News trying to create a scandal where no scandal exists. The Biden administration, I admit, is boring for a lot of us. Boring is a lot better than the insanity that we had with Trump. I'm okay with boring right now. You know, Fox News is news media. For them, it's a matter of views. It's a matter of advertiser dollars. They've got to get people watching something, so they're going to continue to create crises. They're going to continue to create controversy. It's fake. It's completely built off nonsense. It's absent of fact for the most part. I mean, there are people coming across the border. There are people coming here, migrants seeking asylum. Like I said, you have the issue of coyotes lying to them and telling them Biden's going to let them in. You have some people hopeful that a change in president is going to let them in. But it's not a crisis. It's something we deal with year in and year out. And I admit right now, Biden is not doing a good enough job. Most of these people have family in the U.S. Put more people on the border, hire temporary workers, pay them well, put them on the border, processing people, finding their family, locating them, getting them to their family, getting their family to them, whatever, hook them up with their families, get them out into the U.S., to where they're living more of a normal life and not in some crazy concentration camp style facility at the border. That's my issue. Get them out of these facilities and into the U.S. But Tomi Lahren, a swing and a miss on her trip to the border. And again, just anecdotal BS as Fox News tries to craft a controversy. Once nobody picks up on it, it's going to die off. Thanks for watching. Please give my videos a like. If you liked the video, please subscribe. And thanks for watching. Have a good day.